meeting to order. It is 6:30 p.m. May all please stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here. Start the meeting off with an introduction from Jim.
Sure. So I'm really thrilled and excited to have Mrs. Jody Chantel with us tonight. Jody is joining us December 1st as our new executive secretary to the superintendent and district clerk. And Jody has a wealth of experience as the superintendent's executive secretary and district clerk from a neighboring district. We're thrilled to have her. We're excited to have her, and welcome. So I wanted to introduce her publicly and welcome her. So welcome, Jody.
Thank you for being here this evening. Are there any additions or considerations for the agenda?
There's not.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
Second.
All those in favor? May I have a motion to approve the minutes of October 13th regular meeting and the October 13th board retreat?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? The consent agenda is 3.1 through 3.7. We will do it as one motion. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Discussion on any consent agenda items.
Just one small one, I didn't have a chance to ask Bill, I think it'll go to you. The budget calendar, it looked just like previous years, there's no major changes?
No major changes. Very similar to last year.
Okay. That's all I have.
I'm excited to see the thoughts about the budget copies, trying to get a little bit more participation in them this year.
Yeah.
Like, one or two people do that at least. Would be
We'll
an improvement.
try. We'll keep trying.
Careful what you wish for.
Right? So, yes, that was my only comment on that. Any other comments on the consent agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That brings us to the public participation. I'm sure that nobody's got anything going on online yet, since we just started. I don't see any comments online. If you have anything, please type it in the chat, and we will get to it in our second participation. But I will turn it to the public in the room, since we have public in the room tonight, and ask if anybody would like to come forward, please do so. We have a 3-minute time, 5 minutes. Fine. Let me change that call. So please come forward if you would do it. Right?
You think there was a flash of panic there for a second, wasn't there?
I'm sure Mr. Snyder would give you some extra credit.
Seeing none at the time, we will move to the teacher presentation. So, Ms. Potter, you're up.
My wonderful husband, and I will leave these back. Sorry.
Oh. Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so close. I'm really excited to be here today to present a little bit about my summer curriculum project, which was to create a dyslexia handbook for our school.
Try double. No?
Someone told me it was touchscreen. So the purpose of this dyslexia handbook was to support our staff and students here at HCS by providing a resource guide for educators to answer questions regarding dyslexia, and also to further support our instruction for educating our students with dyslexia. At our last faculty meeting, I was able to present the handbook to our entire elementary school. So I was able to go over the resources included. I was able to answer questions and just go over the different elements of the handbook. And then on Monday, I'm going to be joining the middle school, high school special education meeting to share the handbook with the 6th grade teachers and the support staff in the middle school and high school to share the handbook with them as well. So I'm really excited for that, and that's why I'll need these back. So thank you. So the reason that I wanted to create this handbook is because of how prevalent dyslexia is. So it's been found to affect 5 to 20% of the population. So 1 in 5 children could potentially be struggling with dyslexia in our classrooms right now. In the past, there's been a lack of information provided in our teacher preparation programs. Recently, the topic of dyslexia has been more communicated on recently, but in the past, a lot of teacher preparation programs have not, they just lacked information. So I think it's really important that we are able to provide as much information on dyslexia here at HCS, and I'm really excited to be a resource for our teachers and in our community here to support our dyslexic population. Because with the right interventions, we can change the brain structures of our students with dyslexia. So in the fall of 2020 to December of 2021, I completed a certificate through the University of Florida. So I decided to complete the certificate through the University of Florida because it is accredited through the International Dyslexia Association. So that just means that the program was thoroughly reviewed by the International Dyslexia Association, and it passed all the tests that it follows the International Dyslexia Association's knowledge and practice standards for teachers. So that was really important to me when I was trying to find a certificate program to complete, that it was accredited. So I took 5 courses through the program. I took courses in Foundations of Literacy Development and Dyslexia. I took a course on language and the brain, 1 on assessment, 1 on intervention, and then I was able to take a practicum course too. So everything that I learned through these courses, I was able to include in the handbook. So whether it was different resources, just different things that I could change and adapt to meet the needs here at HCS, I was able to include that in our handbooks from what I had learned. So now I'm just going to quickly kind of talk about the different pieces in the handbook. It is quite lengthy, so I'm just going to talk about what is included in each section. And I've also added some pictures from the handbook just for a little sneak peek of what it does look like. So the first section is dyslexia definition and characteristics. So I included information on, of course, the definition, expansion of the key pieces of the definition, the origin of the term dyslexia, common myths, misconceptions, how prevalent dyslexia is, and the characteristics in each grade level to support classroom teachers if they're noticing characteristics in their students, that what a child with dyslexic characteristics might look like. I added the next section on RTI and the evaluation process. So I really tried to adapt what I learned in my coursework specifically to HCS in how we are able to support our dyslexic community. So I added information on RTI steps, an example of a dyslexia screener, the components of a dyslexia evaluation, what a 504 plan and IEP entail, and the rights of an individual with dyslexia. The next section is on instruction, so I included areas to be taught, how the specific information should be delivered, and why that delivery of instruction is so important in specifically rewiring the brain. So this information would be really important specifically on that delivery piece of instruction. The next section is on accommodations and modifications. So these are just different ways to support students in the classroom during their instruction time to access the curriculum and during their assessments. I also included activities and games to support our students in our classrooms. There's a section on assistive technology. So this is, again, just ways for a student with dyslexia to be able to access the curriculum and function in the classroom environment. There's a section on supporting students at home. So these would just be some tips for parents on how to support their children that might have dyslexia at home. A section on additional useful resources. So in this section, they are different resources that I had gathered from my program. And then also some things that I had created, like the sound types chart right here. So I included an oral reading fluency data graph, a fluency monitoring graph, a blending wheel template, a blendable sounds chart, a phonological awareness skills by level chart too. So again, these are just things that I took from these 5 courses that I took through the University of Florida that I think our teachers would be able to implement and utilize now to support all of our students. The last section is on the New York State Guidance Memorandum. So this is specifically information provided from the state. So in 2017, the state came out with a law supporting our students with dyslexia, so I included that. And I also included additional documents that the state provided in supporting our dyslexic population. There's a flyer that's titled Meeting the Needs of Students with Dyslexia, Dysgraphia, and Dyscalculia. And then there's also a questions and answers document. So this last section was everything provided from the state specifically on dyslexia, but the rest of the handbook were things that I had created, put together, and added throughout the program that I took. And I hope it's okay, but I'd like to end on a quote. And the quote says, teaching a child to read opens the path of life. And this was stated by actually my father, Carmen Trevisano. So my dad actually, so he passed away in the beginning of September. Oh, I'm gonna start crying in a second. And, oh, sorry, shoot, I practiced this too. He was my biggest supporter as an individual, but specifically as a reading teacher. He actually made me this plaque when I started here at Hamilton in 2015, and it has this quote on it, teaching a child to read opens the path of life. And he was a Marine, so it says Semper Fi on here. I thought it was pretty ironic that today is actually the Marine Corps birthday, too. So the reason that I wanted to dedicate this handbook to him is because he had a lot of difficulty in elementary school and in high school as a reader. And although he was never formally diagnosed with dyslexia, he had all the characteristics of an individual with dyslexia. And he was just so proud of me that I was able to support our students here as a reading teacher. And he always encouraged me to go back to school. And when I told him that I was going back for a dyslexia certificate, he was over the moon excited, so proud of me. And he was so excited to hear about everything that I was learning and the different ways that I was supporting our population here at Hamilton. So he passed away before he could actually see it completed. But I know he's really proud of me. So thank you for letting me share that and dedicate this handbook to him. It really means a lot. And thank you to the board for allowing me to create this. Thank you.
You didn't get it.
Good luck, Mrs. Burke. While Kevin gets us all tissues, you can prepare.
We'll dry your eyes right
Maybe
off.
we'll- we get this there, up there. Anybody have any
Sure.
questions for?
Great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was wondering if there's a, like, is there a version of this you give to the ones, so make sure it's there?
Yeah, so I specifically geared this to our, the teachers at Hamilton, but that is something that maybe I could create, I don't know, in the future, like a parent version of it. There is that one element on ways to support students at home, but that's just like a snippet. I think that maybe there is opportunity to create more of a parent's guide to supporting the student with dyslexia.
Or even pieces of this to
Yeah.
start as a downloadable version for parents, but, I mean,
Just take out all the law, nobody wants this
as a starting point, I think this was wonderful. I was trying to pay attention to you, but look at the book, and the few pages that I could see while I did both were very comprehensive. I could understand what I was looking at while I was listening at the same time, which I think is really helpful for people that are trying to learn and help students.
Thank you. Yeah, I tried to make it as like digestible as possible, just so it's not an overwhelming topic. It's something that we can handle, we can work through and just make everything digestible for teachers.
I think it was clear, a lot of work went into that, so thank you. And it's proactive, which is really important too, for many reasons.
Thank you.
What, I noticed there's, is it different types of dyslexia? There was ones in there that weren't called dyslexia.
Yeah, so specifically, yeah, at the end, so it says dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. So dyscalculia is more dyslexic characteristics in math. In dysgraphia is more dyslexic characteristics specifically in writing, like in the formation of like letters. So they're all quite similar, but pieces of them are a little bit different, so they just have different names.
Yeah. Well, it was great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Capri. We are equally as proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do every day for our students, not only in the handbook, but for what you bring to our kids every day.
Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot, all the support.
Yeah, I'll just add to that too, that Capri, as many of our teachers do here at Hamilton, spend so much time bettering their craft and their skills, and she's always done that since day one, always wanting to know everything there is to know to help her kids, and so that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Now we will turn it over to somebody else that is better in craft and.
More in.
Do we get to keep?
You get to keep
Thank you.
I apologize, one of the pages is sort of cut off at the top there.
Capri, don't feel
Say it again.
don't feel that you have to stay. You're welcome to leave if you would like.
Are you sure? I feel bad after the compliments.
Have a scoop.
It's okay.
I'm gonna keep bettering my craft.
Thank you.
Enjoy your long weekend.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Renee Burke, and in my new role, I am the coordinator of social emotional learning and family engagement. And first, I wanted to say thank you to the board for allowing me to do this position this year. It has been amazing. Thank you so much. I was hoping to share with you tonight a little bit about the social emotional learning team that we have this year. A lot of what happens on the social emotional learning team happens behind closed doors, quietly, confidentially. Some of it is out in the open like the SEL room and noticeable, but a lot of this amazing work that is done with kids is done by our counselors and our behavioral specialists and our social worker and Mr. Ellis, and it is not as visible. And so this gives us an opportunity to kind of see what all the pieces are and who the players are for our social emotional learning team.
Can we go?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So This slide just kind of introduces our RTI process that the students go through with SEL. We have a pretty well-defined process for our academics, for reading, writing, math, those sorts of things. When students are struggling, they go into this RTI process, and it's tiered through a tier 1 through tier 3. Not so well-defined for SEL. And as we build our team this year, which is an amazing team, and I thank so much to the board for supporting us, and Bill for supporting us being able to put together the people that we have. It's just night and day difference what we can do now. But so our RTI process, we're in the stages of really defining roles for everyone, defining what the steps are. Next Thursday, we're going to roll this out to the faculty. We'll get into a lot of detail about this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this today. I'll do another presentation to the board about that down the road. We want to make sure that gets to the teachers firsthand. But our tiers, just to generally speak, tier 1 is just when you have a student in the room that's struggling socially or emotionally, teachers can kind of go to one of the members on the team, talk to them on the team, get suggestions. Here's some things you can try. When things don't go so well, just not really working, might be getting worse, the teachers fill out an RTI referral form, and then our behavior specialist, get all these new titles out there, our behavioral specialist collects that referral form and starts to put together a team, does some observations, and then we set a date for us all to meet. We discuss what's going on. We put a plan together, an informal plan of what we do when certain things are going on, so that teachers, students, administrators, everyone knows what to do, what to say, all those sorts of things, who to go to. And then the process just kind of goes down from there. In tier 3, it's a little more intense, a little more observations. You might do a little more formalized plan. And then we just continue to meet back on that student every so often, depending how things are going. We usually set it out for like 6-8 weeks out into the future to meet again, but if things are not going well, we'll certainly meet before that. That's just the kind of the basic kind of tier. Again, I'll get into that a little bit more at a later date in the meeting. Okay, so this kind of goes off of what I was talking about before. There's a little picture of one of our SEL team meetings. It's kind of neat. Wish you could be there. I mean, you're sitting around a table like you're there in our CSE conference room. You got a behavior support specialist. You have a coordinator of SEL. We have our online school psychologist on a computer. We have our school counselor there. We have the teachers. Our social worker is there. And we really have every part of the needs of the community kind of in one place. Myself, we aides, if the students work with an aide, the aide is there as well too. And so we all really brainstorm about ways we can support those students in and out of the classroom. And it's an amazing thing. So, yeah.
So we have weekly behavior intervention team meetings.
And our BIT meetings as well too.
Yes, and then ongoing response to intervention meetings. The SEL team meetings are after school for middle school and high school students, and our SEL team meetings for elementary happen during the day. We
kind of have to have the middle school, high school have to be after school, because when you're inviting the teachers to an SEL team meeting, you can't invite, if it's a 9th grader, you can't invite 6 teachers to a meeting. You don't have that many subs. It has to be at school. Elementary, you can invite the elementary teacher, perhaps an aide. You can do that during the day.
This is our new social worker. Her name is Florianne Wixon. She's been hired by Madison County to work with our students at Hamilton Central School. Her office is right here in the building, and families and students can meet with her during the day or after school. So she uses cognitive behavioral, art, and narrative therapy modalities, and she is very happy to be here with us.
Great.
This is our behavior specialist, Ms. Nasimos. She's a board-certified behavior analyst working toward licensure in New York State. I won't go through the entire slide, but her goal is to increase appropriate behaviors and systematically decrease inappropriate or challenging behaviors. Her main focus is on increasing communication skills. She is also qualified to conduct functional behavior assessments, FBAs, which would lead to BIPs, the Behavior Intervention Plans. And I know you each have a copy of the slideshow, but it shows exactly what an FBA is and the process and what is involved in that process. Ms. Nassimos also creates Tier 2 informal behavior plans for students with high intensity behaviors. And these are 3 quick examples of some of the creations that she's worked on for these behavior plans. They involve high interest topics for students so that they are interested in earning specific incentives, and she shares those in the classroom, she models them, and is able to follow up and review with students and teachers these plans. Mrs. Hauk, our elementary counselor, she does some small group counseling. All of the 2nd through 5th grade students completed a needs assessment survey with Mrs. Hauk this year regarding potential counseling groups of interest. She said that 21 students identified stress management as an interest. So following group counseling best practices, students that were interested were screened by Mrs. Hauk and permission slips were sent home to parents. She has 2 stress management groups that began meeting in October, and the groups meet for about 6 to 8 weeks for 30 minutes. And she has an anger management group that began this week. She does individual counseling, 504 IEP counseling, immediate response to mental health needs in collaboration with the SEL team. She also does classroom lessons. During November, she is working on delivering child protection unit curriculum in 5th grade, and will continue on through all of the other elementary grades throughout the year. Ms. Torrey is our middle school counselor. Individual counseling includes IEP counseling, daily individual crisis or short-term individual counseling. The 6th graders work on a survey to gather information on their interests, their skills, academic and personal challenges. She starts college and career exploration folders with them. She does some small group counseling. The 6th graders completed a small group assessment survey in September. And in 7th and 8th grade, those groups are based on student interest and a continuation from previous year's interests. Ms. Torrey also does large group classroom instruction based on the 3 different domains of counseling, which are academic, social, emotional, and career domains. In 6th grade, the health classes are working on mental health and self-image, and she is often involved in those lessons. In 7th grade, she is involved in leadership classes and with Bridges. She's also coordinated with the FACS curriculum and to complete career interest surveys. In 8th grade, the health curriculum covers many mental health topics in collaboration with Ms. Torrey. Students visit BOCEs in large groups to connect various career paths and the training that's required. And in December, large group instruction on high school diploma requirements and HCS course offerings. New this year, Dr. Esther Rosbrook has been visiting HCS to coordinate with the SEL team and the middle school teachers and the 7th graders in their leadership class, and has been working on leadership development to promote DEI among students, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Miss Dao does some large group counseling, 9th through 12th grade. She meets in large group settings throughout the year to address the same domains. Individual and small group counseling, targeting support and interventions. In support with the SEL team, she does immediate response and evaluation with students experiencing mental health emergencies. And new this year, the 9th grade has the opportunity to join a leadership group in partnership with Madison County Youth Bureau. is me. And in my new role, I'm able to support our social emotional curriculum, second step. I'm acting as a lead support to teachers and a member of our SEL team, designing frameworks to support positive behaviors within our building, pre-K through 12, representing the district in terms of our SEL efforts, coordinating efforts between the district and community partners, and working to increase and support family engagement. So something new in December will be a mentorship program called the Bigs and Littles between the middle school, high school students and elementary students. So they had an opportunity to sign up on the SEL room door. I had a sign-up sheet with 15 slots, and I got 68 kids come forward and sign up for the program. So I'm working on how that will, the logistics of all of that, but there's a very big interest in a connection, a connectivity, and relationship building between the two sides of the building, which is super exciting. This is a social emotional learning classroom. It's hopefully a comfortable and calm space for students to self-regulate, to take a break, make a connection with an adult. Middle school and high school students are invited during lunch or study halls, and elementary students come in during lunch. When they are invited to come in during lunch for arranged breaks or to have lunch with me in a small group. And all students, when they come in, know that an adult needs to be present in the room. It's a very busy place. It's used all the time. So there are some Tier 1 supports done at lunchtime. Those elementary lunch groups are focused on building and maintaining friendships. And they are sometimes individual lunches with me for a lesson or for socialization. Middle school, high school students use the lunch space for a quieter environment and socialization. And high school also, they do a lot of studying in there. And I've done some lunch groups focused on making friends and increasing social skills. So some Tier 1 supports during the school day might look like on the playground, designing and modeling recess interventions, fostering friendships. It might look like providing an alternate quiet space for concentration, teaching strategies like yoga for classroom poses to improve student attentiveness and reduce anxiety. And Ms. Thomas and I have worked together to create a space for social stories to use as behavior prevention learning tools to reinforce social and safety expectations. This is our care closet, which is new this year. It's located in an area in the SEL room and is stocked with hygiene items that have been donated by Hamilton First Baptist Church, HCS staff, and the FFA. There's gently worn clothing and new clothing and school supplies, and also some snacks, which have been donated by Mr. and Mrs. Hollis and our PTO. The care closet is used frequently throughout the day. October was National Bullying Prevention Month. The elementary classes all had an opportunity to meet in a bully prevention circle and complete an activity and give advice on how we need to stop bullying in our school. And they've written on hands that are displayed on the bulletin board near the copy room. And that was a very great opportunity for kids to be able to talk to each other about how important this is. And my final slide is just some pictures of what it looks like day to day in this SEL room. It is used all day long, and the kids are coming in. I'm noticing they're not on their phones are near them, but they're doing Legos and knitting hats, and they're having a really good time, as well as finding a place to study and to self-regulate, and just a different environment, and it's been very successful. Thank you again for the opportunity to do this job.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments? I'm very excited to see how you do the Little Big program. love all of that excitement that you're getting from the middle school students that want to participate and help their younger with that relationship. I think that's a wonderful thing.
So before it seemed like the high school, middle school, and elementary school were kind of on different paths. Does it seem like things are more, there's kind of more cohesion or more coordination between those groups now?
It does. They have a lot of opportunity for communication. The room is separated with rugs and activities for middle school, high school on one side and elementary on the other, but the conversations still happen and they interact with each other in appropriate ways. I think that once the middle school and high school students got a sneak peek into what it looked like to be an elementary student again from this classroom, they seemed more interested in being a mentor and forming a relationship with the younger kids.
A lot in terms of the SEL work, like the team there. Is there more coordination among the team from the high school, middle school, and elementary now?
Oh yes, absolutely. This is my first year on the team, and I think that this team is very strong, and there is a lot of communication. So I feel like we have a strong team where we're able to not only communicate but also coordinate and kind of gather together to exchange ideas and brainstorm. Those opportunities happen all the time, and so it's just nice to know what's happening throughout the entire building and have everybody's perspective and everybody's brain together at one table. Those SEL meetings are very powerful.
Yeah, I'll just follow up that too. I mean, we definitely have more elementary meetings, but that's not designed that way. The needs are there more, but we certainly have had multiple middle school, high school SEL team meetings, like we said. It's probably about a 5-to-1 ratio, but there's just more needs in the elementary right now. But for sure, and the team works. It's a K-12, pre-K through 12 team. So yeah, it's great.
Thank you, Renee.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
I'll just say this, Renee, thank you, you're doing a great job. This is great. But when I sat and watched this, which again, a lot of work went into this, so thank you, everyone involved so much, but I just got thinking how thankful, and Kevin, how proud I am of you. A lot of this is stuff you've wanted to do for years now. It must feel so good just to have all this come to fruition and just...
It's amazing, and we've been talking about it for at least 2 years, having all these players, and then we finally got the money and the opportunity and the green light, and we couldn't get anybody to apply for the jobs, and we ended up having the most remarkable people so far. Our social worker, our behavioral specialist, like everybody, Renee in her position, like everyone is just, it's a great team, it really is.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is, Kevin, I don't want you to sell yourself short, because this, you know, a lot of this, you did a lot of excellent work on this, and I'm very thankful.
Thank you.
But also, if we're thinking about this project long-term, I think we all be very open to what the board needs to do to make sure that this can continue long-term. But I'm sure members of the community would be happy to donate to the cupboard or do whatever it takes to make sure this is something that can sustain itself over a long period of time.
I'm just sitting here reflecting, so the elementary steering committee meeting happened in the SEL room today.
Right.
So I'm reflecting on trying to, is it that room, or my sense walking out of that meeting is that there's just this sense that everything's here. As opposed to here, where it's been for a while, everything is, was it just the magic of that room? Or are you feeling that in the building? You should go sit in the room.
Actually, Ms. Thomas was mentioning today that the behavior
You mentioned
behaviors
recess.
at recess have come down
Yeah.
significantly.
I think the support that we have this year, I think it's a lot of things. Like I said, it's so hard.
Right.
Sometimes I think, oh, it's this, but yeah, I mean, a return to interpersonal, yeah, just, connections with people and, some of the programs like Renee's talking about building connections. I think it's connections with people and reconnecting to our lives again.
I mean,
It took a little while.
I
but-
stuck my head in tonight, and it's a comfortable space. We've made it a comfortable space, and if you had been in a conversation that I had interrupted when I walked in. It felt welcoming without being asked to come in. So, you know, like it was one of those like, oh, I'm just sticking my head in there, I'm interrupting your meeting. But it was one of those rooms that you've made feel that way. And I think it's because of what you do in there that, you know, not all teachers can make every single room look like that or feel like that, because we need to also teach and have those moments, but your teaching is a different kind of style, and I think that helps with that space. Makes it comfortable.
It feels a little bit like the communal sense of overwhelm and helplessness is better. Is that fair? Do you agree?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I just want to put this in a visual. So with SEL, there's emotions, there's discipline that ends up in the end, right? And that's the end product of everything. I think what Heather's seeing is the end product coming back to here. Don't get confused. We have just as probably more behavioral needs than we ever have, and I've been here 17 years. But we're here now, instead of over here where the problem is exploding into a discipline problem. We still have some, but we're here. The hope is to get all the way over here, where we're even getting to, so that kids have those places to go before they even have the emotional problems in them.
So I think too, the intersection of restorative practices and a strong SEL team, identifying needs and intervening when needs are identified in a restorative manner, in a social emotional manner, are really making a difference, making a huge impact in the district.
I do want to say also, like I did at the beginning of the presentation, that the SEL room is something that's very visual, easy to see and notice, but a lot of the work that's happening on this SEL team is happening in private and confidential and behind closed doors with our counseling team and our behavioral specialist, Mr. Ellis. All those pieces, our social worker, contribute, I think, to the success of how students are feeling in their regulation. When they come in, they're being supported in many different ways.
I think some of the things you touched on too are a highlight of how a one campus district can be beneficial. You know, you wouldn't have those opportunities for these little pigs and those. I can see how that kind of, you know, it's like a community. Yeah, all great work, thank you.
Stick around for the robots.
And now it's exciting because there's some fun things in here and some students, I do believe.
Yes.
And so, Mr. Alsop, I'm going to turn it over to you and whoever you choose to turn it over to from here.
Mr. Ellis, would you like a water first?
I was gonna say, yeah, I just I've had this little postnasal drip thing going on, and with my back occasionally when I take a deep breath to like try to hold in a cough, that's not so great. So
Do you want us to give you a water?
kind of working on it. No, but what I would like to do is just stand up for a second, shake it out. Okay. We've had a lot of really, like heavy stuff here, social emotional learning stuff. So yeah, so if you guys want to place that up front. Put that up front on your thing. I'm going to have you guys stand over there. We're going to keep the camera on you guys. We're going to have this over here so they can see what's going on here. I will MC this for you guys so you can see it easier. All right, here we go. Whew. All right. Shake it out. Okay, how you see?
But then we can't see the
Yeah, but then you can't see the robot. Oh, that's all right. You can stand up so you can see the robot. That's totally okay. Well, welcome to Hamilton High School Competitive Robotics. This is our competitive robotics team here at Hamilton High School. For those of you who don't know, we have a competitive robotics team
First year,
now.
right?
First year. Usually I like to do this at the end of our season so we can show up with trophies and medals and all that kind of stuff. But
We'll have you back.
We'll come back after our season and bring you all medals. Okay. I'm not lying either. Maybe not this year, but in future years we definitely will. So we are FTC team number 21302. So who are we, guys?
So we represent Hamilton's robotics team, and it's great because it's really just you have to use like science and technology. Like it doesn't really sound. It sounds really complicated, but it's really we're using our brains, I guess, and getting stuff together.
We're hands-on to build it. Very hands-on. First day of class, he taught us basics, and then he let us go to work.
Yeah.
And that took like 10 tries to get right. Mine is
a technique we call iterative design in the engineering world, which means they're building on a design that they created earlier. We are through FIRST, which is a corporate organization that we compete through, so somebody tell them a little bit about FIRST.
So FIRST stands for, it doesn't stand for, but for inspiration and recognition of science and technology. It's a robotic community. It prepares like young people for the future through team-based robotics challenges. And yeah.
You guys understand that it's hands-on because they already told you that. We have a team of 6 students, 3 of whom are here tonight. The other few can't make it at the moment. One of them has a hockey practice that we're wondering whether he really has hockey practice. No, I'm kidding. But it is entirely possible. We have 3 teachers, or actually 1 teacher and 2 staff members, I guess I suppose we can call ourselves, that are working to help organize our program. And the first game this year looks a little bit like this. So this is the game field, pieces of it in front of you. I'll show you a little bit of this. It's about 7 minutes long, but I'll give you a little bit of an opportunity to watch. Hello, technology. Thank you. Block notifications. That way you don't get notifications about all this stuff. All right, here we go.
Welcome to the First Tech Challenge 2022-2023 season game. Power Play, presented by Raytheon Technologies. A team consists of up to 2 driver operators, a human player, a coach, and a robot. Each match is played with 4 randomly selected teams, 2 per alliance. But each alliance is only allowed 1 human player. Your opponent for one match may be your partner for another. Robots must be built from materials specified in the game manual and fit within an 18-inch sizing tool, but may expand after the match begins. The game element is a 4-inch diameter by 5-inch tall plastic cone. There are 60 cones, 30 red and 30 blue. Teams may also use their custom-designed beacons in gameplay.
Don't have those yet.
The game is played on a 12-foot square playing field with a foam tile floor and 1-foot-high walls. Various sized junctions are placed across the field, including 9 ground junctions. In addition, there are 8 low, 4 medium, and 4 high junctions. These junctions are mounted on flexible springs and might not be perfectly vertical. Taped-off substations are centered on both sides. In each corner are taped-off terminals. In the front and back of the field are taped stripes to help robots find cone stacks. There are 4 signals placed on the field. 4 unique navigation images are positioned on the field wall. And outside of the field are the red and blue Alliance stations. Before each match, cones are stacked in the substation storage areas and inside the playing field. Custom beacons are also placed in the substation storage area. Teams place their robots on the field, touching the wall between the substations and terminals. Each team may preload 1 cone into their robot. The 3-sided signal is then randomized. Each image references a specific parking target during match play. If a team designs their own signal sleeve, it can be used to gain additional points. The field and players are now ready. The match begins with a 30-second autonomous period. During this period, there are a number of ways for teams to score, using only pre-programmed instructions and sensor input. Each cone secured on a junction earns points. 2 points for the ground junction, 3 points for the low junction, 4 points for the medium junction, and 5 points for the high junction. A robot parked in their Alliance substation or terminal earns 2 points. If a robot's sensors correctly read the randomized signal, it can park in the corresponding signal zone to earn 10 points. However, parking in the proper signal zone shown by a custom signal sleeve will earn 20 points.
Whoa.
Following the autonomous period is the 2-minute driver-controlled period. During this period, human players may introduce new cones into the substation. Each cone that is placed in its matching color terminal earns 1 point. Securing cones in junction earns the same points as during the autonomous period. 2 points for the ground junction, 3 points for the low, 4 points for medium, and 5 points for the high junction. The last 30 seconds of the driver-controlled period is the end game. Robots may continue scoring cones, but there are also ways to earn bonus points. Alliances earn points for owning a junction. This can be accomplished in 2 ways. An alliance owns the junction if their colored cone is scored on top. This earns an additional 3 points. The junction can also be owned by capping it with a beacon. This earns 10 additional points and prevents the opposing alliance from recapturing that junction. An alliance earns 20 points by completing a circuit. This is done by owning a continuous path of junctions from one terminal to the other. And if a robot is parked in either of their alliance terminals, it earns 2 points. All cones scored during the autonomous period count again if they remain in place at the end of the match. There are many ways to score in power play, but there are also rules that if not followed will deduct points from your alliance. For example, robots may not de-score opposing alliance cones or beacons. A robot may not block or interfere with an opposing alliance attempting to score. A robot must be completely outside of a substation in order to score a cone or a beacon. Robots may control or possess only 1 cone and 1 beacon at a time. Scoring elements may not be large, and robots may not deliberately remove game elements from the playing field. This has been a brief summary of this season's game, Power Play, presented by Raytheon Technologies. For complete rules, please read both game manuals and check the Q&A forum. And all featured on both.
So yeah, our complete rules are quite a bit more detailed, as are the forum answers to how all of this stuff goes. So I'll jump back into slideshow mode, and then I will load you guys up. So what have we done so far? As you look at that, you immediately think, oh my god, that's like a lot of stuff to worry about. Okay? It's not that bad when you break it down into its component segments, right? So what things did we do so far? What's the first thing we did?
We built the chassis so we could get everything else put together.
Right, so how does the chassis work?
So basically, we essentially just need to get everything to fit in with everything. So it's really simple, but Nick, how many tries did it take to get like the right chassis?
At least 20, but like give or take.
Like countless hours to try to get that together.
And
Yes.
every day it seems like another thing broke, so to rebuild it again.
Was any of this provided to you as a kit, or did you have to make all of these pieces?
So these pieces get provided to us, well, as you can see, like little pieces of metal with screws and
Right.
little brackets and
So
things
they
like
do
that.
provide that.
So they do provide us with little brackets in the metal. We'll get to that in a couple of slides when you get a chance to see. It's okay. When you get a chance to see what we've put into this so far. Also, the brains of the robot that are down there is through a company called Rev Robotics, and they basically have the there's two portions to it. So can you guys tell them a little bit about the two portions of the control mechanism? Ben in particular, since he has one portion with him.
So if I can just get this out of my pockets.
Uh-oh. All right, there we go.
So, in my hand, this is our driver's hub. This basically connects to our control hub right there, which is all wired up to all of our motors. We used a system called blocks, so we could program them to this controller so that we can actually move our robot around. Oh. Not exactly the best, but
You don't have walls.
so we're learning how to drive at the moment. That's our new process. But the matter of fact is that programming those that's a skill in and of itself. Programming blockchain is interesting. It's using blocks. We're trying to basically program in an object-oriented programming language rather than using Java for our starting year. Later on, we'll probably move to JavaScripting, which is a little more easy to troubleshoot and a little more easy to find examples for, but we're getting there. So far we've got a chassis. We've got Mecanum wheels, which are the type of wheels that are on there. What's so special about Mecanum wheels?
They can go in all directions. So one wheel can make it go diagonal, forwards and backwards, left and right.
Which is why it's difficult to drive at the moment. They will come up with a better control system. That's our new task, is trying to figure out how to invent a better control system for it so that we can strafe sideways without compromising our wheels. We chain drove the front wheels because we wanted to have a more compact center of mass and also to give us an area for our cone intake. We are in the process of building
An arm. So this is called
not just any arm.
This is called a double reverse 4-bar. I did not build this. This is Elijah's. He did
This is
not show
Elijah's
up
baby. He will be very upset if we break
so,
it.
This thing is called a double reverse 4-bar. There's a video to demonstrate it, but
There are
yeah, double 4 bars.
So there are two 4-bar
Yep.
systems. And because it's reversed, it means it's going to lift straight like this so that our device to pick up our cones will be able to pick things up straight. And so we are working on, we had a preliminary version of the cone intake device, aka LCID, and no, we're not hammering. All right. So we have a cone intake device, and we programmed our controller to accept inputs from the Logitech game controllers that you see down here. We have 2 of them, and set up our control program to allow the wheels to work independently, which is why it's so darn hard to drive right now. So we'll be fixing that. So what have we done so far as far as outreach stuff?
Well, we've been trying to get sponsorships from different companies because we want to put the Rage Shadow Legends sticker on our robots, so that was kind of like our first goal after we built them all.
But
then
what other locations did we go to already, though? Places we've done already. So down here at the bottom, we have 2 things that we did already that you guys wrote about.
So, just me and Nick, because everyone else couldn't make it, but we went into the Clinton Library to see the premiere for our event, and we got to see the full field. Yeah,
this is a part of
rules. We got to see other robots, so we could base some of our stuff off on that.
And we got to set up some contacts with some other teams. And then what have we done recently?
we presented our robot to the elementary students, and we showed them what we had done so far.
And how did that go?
It wasn't working.
We had a minor software malfunction that day. But how did our grade school kids like it? Like, if you were to say, were they like immediately bored by you guys coming in?
Not immediately.
Good call. All right. We do have some upcoming events on November 10th. Tonight we're speaking to our school board about our robotics team. Our competition season starts in December, where we're registering for at least one, maybe 2 events to possibly compete in. We're working on a sponsors presentation for a sponsorship opportunity that has been recently received from the community. If you happen to know any other engineering firms in the community that are interested in sponsoring a robotics team, we always have the opportunity for more sponsorship opportunities. And we'll be presenting our robot and talking about robotics with the grade school students during the elementary school technology night, which is coming up on November 30th. And also we're going to continue trying to push into some of the elementary school classes to show them what our robot looks like as it grows up and becomes a big robot rather than the small robot that it is now. Still very impressive. But so far our funding, our team startup costs were around $3,300 to get all of the base robot parts, all of the metal extrusion that we put together to get this robot built. All of the screws, all of the field components, so like all of those tiles that you see and all of the rods and cones and things, all of that stuff. A lot of this is a one-time cost, so like our initial registration is one time, our field components are one time. Our field components, this year's components, that'll recur every year, but our tires and motors and linear motion kits, those will not reoccur, and our tap and die kits and our screw extractors, we won't need to worry about those. We're anticipating that at some point we're going to need a tool cabinet. We're hoping that our sponsors may be able to put something together for us to help us get a tool cabinet. We also need a hammer drill and like a screwdriver. We need more screws. If you ask my students, the #1 thing we need is screws, which I ordered from Amazon. So they're on their way. I ordered on my own because if you've ever dealt with robotic students that need screws, you know sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and order it on your own. So yeah. And we also anticipate that at some point in time we're going to need to get our team look to be a little more uniform. And so we're looking to eventually get some team sweatshirts or team shirts that we can wear each year as kind of our uniform, because this is a competitive sport and we do want to represent Hamilton well, and we don't want to show up looking like a bunch of ragamuffins.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but so I'll leave this one.
So we are the Hamilton Robotics, and we wish to thank the board for their more than generous support of our season of competitive robotics.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for your support. You have given us the chance to succeed.
If you have any questions for the team or any questions for me, feel free to ask.
I have 2.
All right.
First is, well, first off, this is amazing, so thank you, and I'm glad that you guys get this opportunity to do that. The directions seem kind of complicated. You guys give any thought to like a BattleBots league? Is there anything?
You say that like that would be easier. Especially working with high school students. I don't know. If I could get it by Mr. Dowsland, hey, we want to work with saws. Maybe. I'm thinking that's going to be a hard no. But,
well, you have my note. My question is, what kinds of career paths might the skills developed in this club be utilized in post-graduation?
So it's a really great question. I thought about that just this weekend. So for some of you who might not know me on a personal level, I'm an enormous professional wrestling nerd. It's one of those weird things. I know it makes me sound really déclassé, but I was watching a professional wrestling event this weekend, and there was at the wrestling event above the arena where the event was taking place, the top of the arena was open to the open air, and there was a squadron of drones flying in formation above the arena, spelling out like wrestlers' names and showing their logos over the arena. So much of that is done with programming. programming just like the block programming that we're using here, just like the JavaScript programming that we're going to be using. That's kind of one end of it, is that entertainment programming of robotics that we don't think about really. But there's also farming applications for those of you who work in farming. A lot of farms now are starting to move over to tractors that are controlled by programmed robots. And so these tractors move around the field in the most efficient manner possible without even a human inside of them. There's one human sitting in a tower watching like 5 combines. It's fantastic to watch. And those are the kind of jobs that, this kind of stuff works towards. But there's a million of them out there. So, all the way from entertainment to agriculture and food production to military applications to, something as simple as one of the jobs that I used to do, which was to program robotic arms to move things in a data center. I worked in a data center a long time ago as a computer guy, and we had robotic arms that moved pieces of equipment around in the data center automated so that we didn't have humans moving those drives around. So things like that at its simplest level. But yeah, there's a ton of things. There are enormous scholarship opportunities with FIRST for students that are committed to taking this on and continuing with it as they go through their schooling. These guys who are taking the class this year, I'm hopeful that they'll become mentors for next year's class and do some things after school with next year's class so that we can have some of that cross-fertilization and continue to involve them in the team so that they'll be able to grow that. Like I've talked about with our elementary team, we're already seeing the Legos start to make an impact down at the elementary side of things. And FIRST also sponsors elementary competitions. Definitely not as complicated as this. But it's basically, can you make something that moves? But it's for first grader, that's actually fairly complicated. But it's so we do have kind of a pipeline to kind of work with, eventually start to bring this into some of our lower grade levels and maybe eventually try to turn this into a bigger program here at Hamilton and something that's great.
Now with the competitions, and I know you haven't had one yet, might there be businesses or representatives from colleges or trade institutes that your students will be able to make connections with?
Absolutely, yeah. Most of the judges that are there, and I know this because I was a judge for a long time, most of the judges that were there at these events are typically from businesses that work in a robotics field. And so they are literally scouting the next generation of people and looking at, and a lot of the competitions are actually at universities. So like the competition that we'll be going through here in Utica is at MVCC. There's a competition up north at Colgate. So a lot of the big engineering schools try to sponsor FIRST competitions so that they can get a look at some of the high school kids that are coming up that they might want to focus in on at some point. So yeah, all kinds of opportunities like that.
Thank you for your time giving these students these opportunities. It's very great work.
Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong. Would this be something that the funding could be applied for through the Emerald Foundation? A big source for it.
We thought of that.
The application's there.
Yeah.
Those
The
are
screws.
there.
Exactly.
The other things that they're looking
Screws.
for. I mean, when you were talking about the sweatshirts or the shirt jerseys or,
Yeah.
that would be a thing that you could, or the screws. Extra sort of, but yes, I was thinking of.
Now, are the students doing this lobbying for money too? Are they getting those life skills as well?
Yes, so the presentation that you just saw here was mostly crafted by them. They did most of this work. This is just me kind of helping them because I know some of them are a little shy about talking. They crafted most of this themselves as a way to present their team to some of our sponsors, and they've been doing all of the outreach work with the sponsors. They also did the outreach work to grade school. That was not my idea. That was their idea. That they said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could go down and show this to some kids in the grade school? So yeah, it's all on them. I basically sit back behind my desk and watch and occasionally chuckle at what they're doing, and then they know when I chuckle at what they're doing that maybe they should take a step back and think. But yeah, it's it is very much a hands-off thing. from me, mainly because of the way competitive robotics works. Competitive robotics is really all about the kids learning how to do it all, and not an adult teaching them how to do it all. And there's a big difference between kids learning how to do things and adults teaching them how to do things. And so and I don't mean to call you guys kids, I apologize. But our young adults that are learning these things, they're learning them on their own, which I think makes much more meaningful learning than me just sitting up and going, now here's how you write this.
So I'm familiar with First Lego League, which has one big competition day,
Yeah.
right? So it sounds like this is multiple opportunities to compete. Is there one big day, or do you have to work your way up to that big day, or how does it work?
Yeah, you gotta work your way up. So
Okay.
we are part of the Excelsior region for New York, which is basically everything except for New York City. So there are events going on out in Buffalo, there are events going on over near Albany, there are events going on down near the city but not in the city, there are events going on in the North Country, there are events in Central New York, there are events in Southern New York. And so there are events all over, and the teams that do well at those individual events will have a chance to move on to basically the Excelsior area championships, which will be held most likely at MVCC, because that's the hub for FIRST Robotics here in New York State is right here in Utica, which is not a place you would necessarily think of as being the hub of robotics in New York State, but it is. We actually have a lot of robotics companies that are based in our area that are interestingly a lot of times overlooked. So yeah, so if they manage to qualify there and get a chance to go to the MVCC one, which, cross fingers, we'll get a chance to go to the Excelsior one. Then our next step after that would be state competition against the New York City teams, where they basically fuse the Excelsior and New York City teams together. And then if they manage to place at that competition, then they would move on to the national competitions, which I think this year's in Texas. But it's interesting. It's a long road. We're hopeful this year that we get a robot that actually can play the game. That's our goal. If we get a robot that works and plays the game, we'll be very happy. And then with future years, the game changes every year. So whatever happens with this game, these parts will no longer be parts that occur next year. Next year they may be moving, 1 foot by 1 foot cubes and trying to push down, pyramid structures with cubes. Like, there's just no telling what they're going to come up with from year to year. So.
Are the other teams cooperative? Like the teams that have been doing this longer, will they work with you and help teach? I mean, that was our experience with First Lego, was that it was just so cooperative. It was, even though you were competing, it was, everybody was in it together. Is it the same way at this level, or is it a little more, we're going to give you our secrets kind of?
It is very cooperative. A lot of teams, especially really high level teams, post a lot of stuff on their YouTube channels and post things out where other teams can get access to it. We've made some contacts with other teams when we went to other events who would love to come and help us out. So we've got a few of those things in the works to kind of take a look at.
Awesome. All right. I told you I'd still
It's okay. It's okay. Well, then welcome back.
Because there's students here, can we take just a 3-minute break, just to let them clean this up so that they can go if they would like to? I don't want them to have to stay for the meeting, so we'll give you guys a couple minutes. We'll just take a quick break so that you guys can have a moment.
Thank you, Mr. Olson.
Thank
you, guys.
Yeah, I
The video was great. Now I know all those things I was watching actually. You know what I mean? Visually, I can see them. I just love stuff in the box. So.
We need to be in the picture.
Yeah, we have to be in the picture. It's first go.
What are these wheels called?
Mechanical wheels. MECANUS.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're okay. Thank you.
Want to take that picture?
I have the same on
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll send it.
It's a skill. I don't have that skill.
Hey, Simon says selfie, so.
Yeah.
I got us pictures.
Gotta get it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The video was
Oh, you're back.
Now I know what all those parts are. Because, I couldn't see it.
Now you know what it is like.
I know.
All right. I will go upstairs to let you guys back into my room.
Drive the robot down the hall.
I was gonna say, does he know?
There's a bag over there that those are going to go into, and if there's other things that you guys need me to carry, you can bring them over.
That's the only piece that's not.
Yeah, our only piece that isn't here right now is the walls that go around the field. Yeah, that's our one piece that we're waiting on. Is back ordered at the moment.
So yeah, so you can purchase that too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's bulletproof plastic.
Bulletproof plastic.
Yeah.
But the
in
plastic
case you're-
and the floor will be the same next year. The walls and the floor will be the same next year.
Yeah. Really? Oh,
I'm asking. No, that was a
yes,
question.
yes, yeah.
I'm not.
The walls and the floor will be the same next year. Yes,
Good.
we will use the same walls and the same floor this
Got it.
year as we do next year.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, misunderstood.
No, that was a question.
Yeah. Yeah, because if the floor was made out of bulletproof plexiglass, I think we would have a hard time getting traction.
Yes, I agree.
So we would have to come up with some interesting solutions.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Have a enjoy your long weekend.
Thanks. Yes.
I will, you too. We'll just wait for Shan to come back and we'll continue. Thank you. Thank you for the few minutes to let them leave.
On the 6th, it's late.
Yeah, that was wrong.
This meeting's out of order.
I think you should give them a hard time before you sign.
Oh,
them.
I already planned that.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to leave. Still a lot of agenda
They
left.
didn't really,
Yeah.
they're missing like the actual meeting part.
Right.
No, we did some business.
We did a consent agenda.
I said the students could leave, I didn't differentiate.
You're right about that, though. You may be on you.
Yeah.
Tell Mr. Snyder, sorry.
It is
Make
on
them watch the
YouTube
rest
if
of the
they
video.
want to watch it.
Make them watch the rest of the video. Yeah.
It's not her number one choice, but.
Wow, next teacher presentation days are gonna have to like live up to a lot today.
Yeah. Right, I mean, that I can make sense of. The fact that you can go sideways is just.
All right, so we're moving on to personnel. I need a motion to accept the resignation of Joanna Call as office assistant 2, effective November 29th, with sincere appreciation for services rendered to the district.
Second.
Discussion would be an executive session. All those in favor? Aye. Motion to approve the recommendation of the committees on special education and preschool special education.
Second.
Discussion would be an executive session. All those in favor? Aye. Need a motion to approve Hamilton's participation in Waterville, wrestling at Morrisville Eaton. That's for combined sport, as recommended by the athletic director and superintendent. If I had just read that the way it was written, it wouldn't have been so hard.
I was trying to follow you.
I'll move.
I'll second.
And you don't get to ask how many.
One student.
Okay, that's what.
One sophomore.
Have to ask every time.
Absolutely.
Great. All those in, driving will be on.
Transportation will be provided by the parents.
Okay.
And who's gonna provide the district clerk duties for them on the Morrisville side?
Well, I don't know.
As long as we have somebody.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to accept the following monetary donations with sincere appreciation and increase the budget to this amount as recommended by the business manager and superintendent.
Second.
Thank you to the Sports Boosters, the PTO, the Bible Fellowship, and NBT Bank.
I want to know where the new bleachers are going. Are they?
I was wondering too.
They're out. They've been out.
So is it at the softball?
They've been on the softball.
Softball.
Yep, softball. Yeah.
So they're rolling ones?
Yes.
Softball, baseball.
Softball and baseball. So the old wooden bleachers are no longer.
Okay.
No more
So
splinters?
aluminum, portable.
No more splinters?
No more splinters.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
First playground now.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Debbie, you can see those, we missed that. Policies, we've got two for discussion, I will turn it over to Travis and Corey.
So, I'll talk about the ex officio student member, so this is, we talked about this, and this is something Bill wanted was, and this is a policy, the parameters of this conform to the requirements of the law. So if you're asking, why this, why that, that's, it conforms to the law. And we tried to build in as much flexibility as we could, and that flexibility was done with the bill as far as selecting a student. There's different ways you could choose to select a student, but we went for flexibility, and Bill would be the one to decide how it would be done.
So, this is first read, we'll vote on it next month, and then what is the hope for getting
So,
we'd have to get some.
when it comes to the annual meeting, we have to have a blank on the word right now. It has to appear on
Yeah, separate referendum.
the, yeah, referendum.
So we won't have a student this year, but we'll hope for that next year.
If the voters give us the authority to do so.
Okay.
We could put a referendum, if it was voted, was approved in May, then starting
We
in
can do that this year.
July, we could have a.
And this is kind of helpful to have a policy so we can point to this and be like, this is what it will look like if we so choose. Just kind of get all of our ducks in a row here.
Great.
I don't know, Bill, if you want to talk to, not many schools do this, I don't think, for one. I searched high and low and I found a handful, but do you want to speak to why you would like to partake in this?
Yeah, so this is an opportunity for more student voice, and student voice at the highest level. So this ex officio student would be sitting as a board member without voting rights, but bring voice to the board from the student population. It's just that opportunity for student representation at the highest level in our district. I think that's important. I think it's important to hear the students and to have input from our students on district decisions.
And as you can see, you know, there's certain things that a student might have access to, obviously. Yeah, so
And our
we're
hope-
pretty happy with the
yeah,
policy.
Our hope is that the community supports it and we have a student ex officio board member next year.
Great.
And
You need a
we
big
also-
table.
Sorry.
I said you're gonna need a bigger table.
Or smaller chairs.
Maybe some chairs on my feet will touch the ground.
And one thing that we thought was important was to let this student be chosen and approved earlier.
Right, we did talk about
So that way they could get up to speed with things before their term actually begins, just like board members are, right? But also, I think it's important that they need to be here when we decide when we're gonna have meetings. Including our goal setting meetings, but they'd be involved in as well, so.
Does the policy outline how the kids are selected?
Well, it gives some parameters.
Yeah.
Which are set by education.
Oh, so do they have to be like a certain age?
Seniors.
Only seniors.
They have to attend the school continuously for 2 years prior. There's a couple of them.
Okay.
It'd be a good academic standing.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, but I was curious about some of those, but because they're educational law, that is how it is. So.
Thank you.
I think too, it gives another opportunity to build student leadership skills.
See the effective government, which is a nice thing to see them exposed to.
They won't just come when they have to.
Maybe some friends will come and learn too. Maybe not.
And, you know, there are some, you know, there are some questions about how this will work that Bill's working on, finding out those exact, you know, answers to. Maybe we can reach out to some of the schools that have this program and get a little insight about how they, you know, work it. But we feel like this is a good policy to have that will allow this to move forward if the voters of the district so choose.
No, this is great. We've talked about it for a long time, and it always seems to be that we talk about it after the election, and then it's like, oh, we had to have it on the ballot. Like, it's going to be a whole other year before we can talk about it again. So this is great. I love it. So
We work by our policy.
And, being on the ballot, Bill is working, figuring out a lot of that. But it would be, if you see, it's every 2 years, which comes from education law. So once it's approved, you basically are good for at least 2 years, maybe more. We're kind of trying to figure out some of the ins and outs. But again, that's why we wanted to get ahead of this now.
And to get a referendum on the ballot, I mean, like, the referendum for the library comes to us to approve.
It would be like the
So to
bus
put
proposition.
this referendum on the ballot, like, who proposes it?
The district
The
does.
district proposes it, and the board approves putting it on the ballot?
Yep.
Okay. That was the piece that I was.
Now, Bill, do you want to speak to the other first read we have?
Yeah, so the substitute teachers policy, there's a revision in there that complies with the new state regulations that they've extended post-COVID, which allows substitutes to have a high school diploma. So we're just aligning our policy to the extended mandate from the state.
Okay, because I was confused about it because it said during the 2020-2021 school year, due to the COVID crisis, this went into effect, which I was confused about why we were adding it now. So is that standard language? Or?
That's language right from the governor's office.
Is your question, could it be worded differently?
Yeah, I mean, when I read this, I feel like this applied in 2020-2021, not that it's still applying now.
That's what I was wondering why it was added.
So, I don't know if that's me misreading
No, I read it
the
the same
language,
way.
or if that's, so is there some way, during this year, this went into effect and continues until, like, somewhere adding in there a line about it continuing until terminated by the state, right? Like, and then that way, we don't have to watch and remove it.
Just district replace during with as of.
There you go.
As of the 2020.
This one we've kind of fast forwarded
Oh, yeah.
to.
Oh.
We kind of directly shot this to the board, just in the essence of time.
Yeah.
So these questions do not offend us. So if anybody has anything that they would like to maybe talk about, now is definitely the time. That was
Right.
a good one.
No, that was my only thing, was when I read this, I was like, well, but it sounds like it was good for that year, why are we adding it now? So,
With other policies.
it's an extension of, yeah.
Other policies, we got suggestions it does offend us.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
So from now on,
Yeah.
got it.
But this one, you can say whatever.
Now, I'm trying to remember how the first revision process goes. Do we need to specify the changes we want now?
Well, yes, you should, you will tell me, so if you want to go to a second week in December, I'll have to have it all
Yeah.
done,
But the revisions that we're suggesting need to be hashed out right now, right this moment.
or it'll come back in December as still a continuation of
The
the
first
first week.
read, okay.
So would we like to spend 5 minutes right now to,
I think Lori's statement of just changing the word during.
Or as of the 2021.
So can we remove the July 14th? So, because it starts with July 14th, 2020, during the 2020-2021 school year. Could we just say, as of the 2021 school year, due to the COVID crisis?
Or as of July 14, 2020.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I like that.
As of July 14th, 2020, Jen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and then just nothing else until due to the COVID-19 crisis.
Right.
Um,
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
so we're just adding as of to section 2.
No, we're replacing,
And
we're removing during the 2020-2021 school year.
You can take all of
Yeah.
that, and just start with 2-2.
Okay.
So we're adding as of and striking during the 2020-2021 school year.
Yeah, so it reads, as of July 14th, 2020, due to the COVID-19 crisis, substitute teachers who do not hold a valid teaching certificate, blah, blah.
Now, Michelle or Debbie, remind me, do we need a motion to amend that, or are we good?
Yeah, this
doing
is just the
this?
first read, anyways, it's a discussion, so when we go to the second read, then it'll be outside.
I have another question on this one too. For 3B, under responsibilities, would it be appropriate to add that they need to familiarize themselves with any IEPs or 504 plans of students within the classroom? and anything to do with like safety procedures. Like fire drills, fire alarms, any like district specific to that.
No, Bill, this doesn't cover long-term substitutes, which kind of addresses that.
However, one day it could be that we have a fire alarm go off, and this, I feel that the teacher needs to know what to do in their classrooms. And I think even if you have a substitute, they should still know what accommodations the student has in the classroom, so that.
You mentioned IEPs and 504s. What kind of access is a substitute teacher allowed in terms of that?
That's my question. I don't know the answer to that.
I feel like in section B, there's enough flexibility, right? There's enough kind of overall, right? Assume the non-instructional duties.
Follow the instructional
Complete the
plans.
daily shared teacher paperwork for emergencies, right? I think that
So I can kind of just like,
covers that, right?
so for substitutes, they'll have like an orientation which will cover what is a fire drill, a lockdown, things along those lines. And then in the teacher plans for the specific class, there may be some, some notations about different individual students. That's how we do it now. I don't know if you
Those are good
change
questions, but it sounds like that's covered internally outside of policy.
It is. It's
Mhm.
kind of part of their onboarding, but in their substitute folder is an emergency response plan that if there's a fire drill, this is what you do. If there's an evacuation, this is what you do. Our safety card is right in there. As far as the 504, that would be in the sub-plan or IEP from the teacher to the substitute.
So I guess, should there be any reference to applicants will be evaluated if approved, placed on the substitute list according to their approved areas of instruction and after completing orientation or substitute orientation or something like that?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like what you're
But they're
concerned
not-
about is covered in.
The orientation happens after their.
It does.
It happens after they're approved, but before they start.
I don't have it in.
Well, it's if approved, placed on the substitute list according to their approved areas of instruction and complete orientation.
I think it's covered in 3A, substitute teachers in the Hamilton Central School District are members of the professional staff. They are expected to follow the same instructional and non-instructional standards as a regular employed teacher. And then we leave it up to Bill and his team to.
Okay,
Okay, so why I'm bringing this up, just for some background, is there was a substitute in a classroom, there was a fire drill, and the substitute had no idea what to do. That I was made aware of recently.
Yeah, but that's not for right here, right this moment.
Right, however, I think subs need to be aware of those plans so that they do know.
Yeah.
And I think this policy states that.
Yeah, I
Right,
think
because they have
that's,
the
that's
responsibilities, yeah.
internal, but I do appreciate the concern, but I think as Corey points out, 3A, that is covered.
Okay.
And just a little note, 3B3 needs a closed parentheses at the end.
Thank you. Very proud.
Three.
Right here. Heard that. There was one parenthesis. It like stands out like a sore thumb.
I see it now. I see it before.
One parenthesis in the middle of the page.
And the other thing is, like I said, we're trying to, this is to get our policy to comply with current law. That doesn't mean that the policy committee can't take this policy back into review down the road and address more concerns as they are shared with us. For right now, this is to just be a little proactive.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have administrators updates. Thank you all for taking the time to put your updates together. Appreciate it. Give the board just a second to remind themselves of the agenda.
Kevin, I just want to say thank you for like putting all the titles down and exactly what each person does. Between your and Renee's presentation tonight and this, it's super helpful.
Yeah, and that's something that's gonna be important to make clear to the teachers well too, because there's about 8 of us for counting some of our interns, like, what's everybody's role and responsibility, so we took a lot of time figuring that out.
That
We'll
was
pass
super
it on to them as
helpful.
well. Yeah.
What's your elevator pitch on BIMAS 2?
So by Mass 2, so we were looking, as an SEL team, we were thinking about what do our kids really need? Like what can we bring to them? right off the top of our heads, we're like, oh yeah, so definitely kids are struggling with anxiety, depression, and stress, and those sorts of things, so we can do that. But then we're like, well, wait a minute, how do we know? So we said, oh, we'll take our DECA survey, or use a DESA, I'm sorry. So the DESA survey is teacher-driven, so it's a teacher kind of fills out there is a student component to it where we measure their pulse through SEL, but it's only 9 through 12. So our social worker turned us on to BioMass. She's using a previous district. It has a pre-K through 12 student, parent, and teacher input on social emotional well-being. So kind of will give us a more well-rounded kind of idea. So right off the bat, it seems like the right thing to do. We've already paid for DESA for the year, so we're going to go through with our DESA and gather that information for now. But we're looking real closely at it. We're going to get back together in a week or two and make a decision about whether we purchase that in addition to, or wait until the end of next year, or even if it's the right thing. So I think Kaz uses it too, so we've got someone to reach out to.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Mark, I just looked through again, I didn't see it in there, but congratulations to all of the students in the school and high school that the last 2 weeks went into the honors club.
Yeah, we had our induction ceremonies.
Yeah, induction ceremonies for junior and regular honors society.
I think it was like a record year for the number of inductees.
Yes,
It's amazing.
incredible.
It's great.
So hats off to all of the students, to the teachers that got them there, and for the presentations and induction ceremonies.
Can you, Mark, talk to me about what the inclusion-based leadership looks like? Have they had one yet or not yet?
Through the Alana Center?
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually had their first round.
Okay.
And so we picked leadership. So in 7th grade, our students have a rotation. And so the entire class is split up into 4 groups.
Okay.
And they're doing different things each marking period. So we wanted to find a time where we can hit the entire class. We couldn't really find one to hit everyone all at once. This was kind of the next best thing. And it's smaller groups, which this format of this type of work kind of requires. So they did meet last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Oh, wow.
I stayed out of it because I didn't want to be a variable that maybe stopped conversation but I did hear from the teacher that was in there, and Renee I know was in there a day, and Ms. Torrey was in there, and they thought some good conversations were happening with the students, and they were all involved. So next marking period, we'll hit the next group that's in that class.
Okay, so that's the
Then
4.
3rd marking period, we'll hit the other group, and by the 4th marking period, we'll have covered the 7th grade.
Okay.
And then we hope to figure out, okay, how can we do it in all of the middle school?
Yeah. Awesome.
And hopefully also a goal would be to train some of our older students, or as these students get older, they've gone through the process, to facilitate these types of conversations.
And I think Alana is used to doing that with older students, training them to be
Yeah.
ambassadors, and so they may actually really have the skills to help do that.
No, very thankful for the opportunity they're
Gosh.
bringing to us.
I just have 2 quick things. One, a lot of your reports are really helpful the way you have them formatted now, and that they are correlated to the district goals. And that really helps us know the questions that we should be asking. I don't want to get too into the business of what you guys do every day. So that's very helpful for us. So thank you. And Mark, I'm trying to figure out how to word this best. Post-graduation, life and possibilities and what is right for every student is really changing in the last few years. In short, college isn't always the right choice. And I have seen an effort this year, and Bill and other things that are opportunities that it's given to students that really are showing them other opportunities outside of school, and I'm very appreciative of that. So thank you for showing students many different possibilities that are out there and open for them. And I think that's very helpful to give, every student an equitable pathway forward after graduation. So thank you.
And they're up to, for the job fair that we have coming up, they're up to 40 now. Different local
Well, that was
businesses.
one example. Billy shared there was something for middle school girls in Syracuse with
Yeah.
the trades or
Yeah.
something, which,
Yeah.
that was, hey, that's great, It's things like that that I'm noticing this year, and, yeah, just thank you. Good job.
Athletic update. Yes. And a long one.
All right.
A long one?
Yes. The fall sports season was very successful with all the varsity teams having success in multiple rounds of sectionals. The modified volleyball season has started with the first games taking place this week. We're currently at the end of winter sports science for varsity and JV basketball, and the season begins on Monday, November 14th. As we prepare for the winter sports season, there's been a large emphasis from the State Athletic Association and Section 3 regarding sportsmanship. Athletics across the state is currently in an officials crisis, with the number of officials across the modified JV and varsity levels having decreased drastically over the past few years. One of the biggest reasons for this decrease in officials is due to the lack of sportsmanship from spectators, coaches, and players. Section 3 and John Rathbun, Executive Director of Section 3, have been working hard to ensure that all schools are making sure to promote sportsmanship with our section through material and videos. There are current discussions at the state level about adding a spectator sportsmanship regulation to the New York State Athletic Association sportsmanship rule. In the preseason meetings with coaches for the winter season, sportsmanship was discussed and will continue to be discussed in future meetings with all coaches, players, and parents as it is a priority. Our goal at HCS is to ensure that officials feel welcome at our school and want to officiate for our games. Without officials, we could run into the situation of not being able to play our athletic contests home or away. In the long run, this could mean our student athletes have fewer opportunities to play and compete. Anyone is interested in officiating, please come see me. I mean, Emily Frieden. Don't come see me. Over the past few months, New York State Athletic Association has been working on developing criteria for a 6th classification. This is big news in the sport world in New York State. Currently, several New York State Athletic Association sports have more than 600 teams competing in the state championships. In an effort to provide more equity amongst all championship sports and greater opportunity for students to experience a championship, criteria for a 6th classification has been proposed and passed based on beds numbers for schools. With the new format, the classification committee established classification cutoff numbers of 75 at the top and 100 at the bottom, and a larger discrepancy exists for the number of teams competing for a championship in the remaining classes when comparing 5 classes to 6. With the 5 classification system, it broke down to AA, A, B, C, and D. With 6 classifications, it will be AAA, AA, A, B, C, and D. Recent information was received from Section 3 and the State Athletic Association, and they've approved the 2023-24 Section 3 school enrollment numbers. Those are beds numbers, along with the new 6 classification sport numbers. Hamilton's beds numbers for the 23-24 athletic season is 141. So here's how teams will be affected for next year. Boys soccer will remain a Class D school. Boys basketball will be bumped to a C. Girls baseball will be a D. Girls soccer will be a C. Volleyball will be a D. Girls basketball will be a C. And softball will be a D. So we're kind of all over the place. And that's based on the classification. A huge thank you to our grounds crew for making sure our facilities are always ready for practice and competition, and to the transportation department for ensuring our athletes are able to get to their away games. Thank you to the administration and the board for the continued support of HCS Athletics. Emily Freeth, Athletic Director. Yeah, big changes.
So what does that really mean for us?
That means that we are playing different schools in sectional competition. League stays the same.
Okay, league stays the same.
Yeah,
Okay.
so once we qualify for sectionals, we'll be playing obviously C or larger schools. Some of the schools we already play, and we already play them in league competition because primarily we have Class C schools in our league. But we could now play more of the Syracuse-based C schools, the Weed Sports, the Onondagas, Vegas, Pompey.
They're in our league.
Those are in our classification for the section, not in our league.
So touching on our conversation last month, will the teams that were contractually obligated to play, is that right to say?
Yeah.
Would they change?
They will not change based on the Center State Conference. Now, the Center State Conference is probably going to look at realigning their league divisions, which means we could be playing more Class D schools within a sport, Class C schools within a sport. So it's really shaken the landscape of state athletics with 6 classifications.
For a good cause, but.
Yeah, yeah.
I just did a very cursory search, so it could be in there somewhere. I don't see anything that says that we have a district sportsmanship policy for spectators. Could you look into it?
Yeah, we
Something
just
like
followed Section 3 sportsmanship policy. That's our.
And does that allow us to kick people out?
It does.
But what are visitors to the school policy fall?
It doesn't have anything that says
Yeah.
about your behaviors. It's
So
just-
Section 3 policy, we have the right to remove any fans.
Now, any home game, I'm gonna say, let's say we had modified pickleball, okay? Is there an internal practice that we follow where there is a staff member present for that? For every game? I guess my question is, are we able to ensure that at every home game, there is a district staff member present that can handle a situation that might arise where a visitor needs to be addressed?
We don't have that specifically at the modified level. At JV and varsity level, we always have a district administrator, athletic director, site supervisor. At the modified level, I know Mark attends.
It seems like there always is.
Emily's in and out, but we don't per se have somebody designated to a modified game.
But at JV and varsity?
JV and varsity we do, yeah.
And do you feel that the tools are there to handle situations when they arise? Because unfortunately, sometimes sports can bring out the best in people, it can bring out the worst in people.
Yeah.
So.
And we're not immune to that happening at the modified level.
I was just gonna say.
You know,
You've been to a Pee Wee game?
yeah, sometimes our most unsportsman
Yeah, it starts there.
things and behavior starts at the modified level. To
Where the
date, we
referees
haven't
are
had.
the newest and the least experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at, if your team wants to look at that Section 3 policy, and if there's anything we need to do,
Sure.
bolster that through board policy.
Okay.
District policy, I think we'd be very happy.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was doing.
If there's no protection for referees, for example, or, you know, like, whatever it is.
Yeah. Okay.
We just want to be able to give you and your team the tools to handle situations that Section 3 has pointed out that have become a problem.
Thank you.
We can ask the technology director to be allowed to kick people out.
Yeah, he loves that.
Maybe we can get a
He's
robot.
not paying attention.
He's not paying attention.
So we're gonna designate him as
Right.
the modified
We
sports.
need you to be a site supervisor at a modified games to remove disruptive fans.
You need to start paying
You were
attention.
you were just elected.
Can we just tell me?
I would say she'd be a great.
No, we don't.
After finding people with AI, everything, they would under their breath.
All right,
It's
so
the best part of being at the game.
I'm gonna move us to extracurricular update.
You want my report first?
No, you're next. Extracurricular.
Extracurricular first.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Following
Mark.
the.
Pushing us ahead.
Agenda.
Sorry.
Who's giving the extracurricular update?
Mark and Heather?
Extracurricular update?
Yeah.
We have extracurriculars.
So
That's good.
we had the National Honor Society, both junior and high school ceremonies. All the other clubs have been meeting that we talked about last time. Ski Club had their paperwork was due today, so they should be getting all of that set up for them to begin. Mathletics has a meet Saturday. Middle school production is still going on. I can't think of anything new. We had some magic cards donated to Mr. Alsop, so there's a lot more magic cards for students. So, and those, one of the parents just found out that we had the club and came in with a whole box of cards, so Chris was super excited about that.
Has the ukulele club had any like increase in membership since last month? Or?
I can't speak to that, to be honest with you. But, so we are starting coding club on Monday, so Chris is working with Colgate students, so that's our new club. We have so many after-school activities, we have to create a spreadsheet, so that's really a good problem to have. We really, you know, like the Lego club for both the primary and intermediate grade levels. Our play is coming up next Friday, so really excited about that. The kids are super excited about it. Yeah, and so math club, art club is still going, but I mean, we just really, if you have elementary students, the activity sheets are coming home, which is really fun. The kids are loving it, so.
I just think all the extracurricular clubs that you guys have continued on and added to are just so great because, you know, we love data, so all the data points to, what is it, if a student is involved in an extracurricular club, like there's so many statistics for like how beneficial it is for their life moving forward at the moment. So the fact that we're able to give those opportunities is just commendable, so thank you.
Dad took the sophomore class that had a middle school dance last Friday. that I attended. And there was also a fire right next door, so that made it even more exciting when all the fire trucks and everything were here. And all the middle schoolers were just coming into the dance as all of this was happening. So that was my Friday.
At least you got them in and locked them in, right? Like.
Yeah.
I was impressed with how many kids came out of the building at the end. Just like there was a lot of kids that went for their first.
And a lot of times those are very complicated events as far as student interactions, but they were great. They did a great job.
Nice choice of words.
They did a great job.
Any like student bands that do the playing? Or?
Everything is through cell phone. So our homecoming dance this year was speakers and a cell phone.
And they loved it.
Yeah. They just hit play. They don't like the song, they swipe and go to the next one.
They did learn at the prom one year, only having one person have the playlist is a problem.
And don't allow Bluetooth connection because everybody will start throwing songs up from their phones. So.
Good trick to know.
Yeah.
Good trick to know.
Oh,
wily critters.
All right. Couple of things. I would like to ask you to consider a code of conduct workshop with our administrative team to start reviewing our code of conduct that is being revised to align with restorative practices. So we could think about that and
make a date.
Make a date.
Date.
All right.
We're ready.
Now let's start with who do we want in this?
So we want the board and the administrative team.
Okay.
And when are we thinking?
Let's do it.
You weren't expecting us to be this
Well,
on it, were you?
No, I was.
It's gotta get on the calendar, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's filling out. When the calendar looks like this, it's not gonna happen.
I don't have the athletic calendar. I'm looking at December 13th.
Middle school
concert.
Okay. 12th?
I got an Emerald Foundation meeting, but I'm. Kind of need to.
Should make it 5:30.
That's on my calendar.
December 12th, 5:30. Does that work for the administrative team?
Yeah, if it doesn't, let us know because we want you to.
So my only question concern about December is, there's a lot of nights we're asking this team to be in the building in December. I have no problem doing it in December or on the 12th. I just know that we ask a lot of our administrators to in December with concerts and plays and this and that and things and holidays. I just bring that up.
What about this? What if we took a board meeting night, bumped it an hour, or like moved it ahead an hour, and then held the workshop following that? Is that a possibility? Would you guys be
Or
open?
do a 5 o'clock that night?
Yeah, I'll make 5 o'clock happen.
So if we did a 5 to 6:30 board workshop on code of conduct and then a board meeting?
Okay, I was looking at the other way, or if you want to do it that way.
Or
I was
what
talking about
what if
board
we do
meeting.
the 12th and we tell the rest of your team, don't come to the board meeting? Go.
Sold.
Wow, I saw.
Sold. I got 2 yeses right out of them.
Yeah, the 8th is gonna be rough for me.
Huh?
I'm flying in from Florida into Albany on the 8th.
Okay.
My flight's
Okay.
not until 4, so
Oh, yeah, you wouldn't be
yeah,
here,
my arm's
so.
So,
I'll be flying
we'll
to
do
make it
the
here by
12th?
6:30.
Do the
It's gotta
12th.
be that.
but
5:30
they're
is
off the hook
present.
on the 8th.
No, not off the
What
hook.
time?
They're not allowed.
They're not-
5:30.
You have to go to be somewhere.
Banned from
Wow.
building.
Make
Does that
them
work?
set up the camera. Let's go.
Does that work for you guys? Yeah.
On
Yeah?
my first
Heather,
board meeting
continue.
at home.
Does that mean you're going to come in?
No, I-
This is not my best
Actually,
time of the day.
Jody and I will be here.
That's what I just said.
My first board
And that's right, you have to be here
There
too.
will be.
I still have to do the reports.
I'm
good.
But it's
Yes,
all
of
you,
course.
I didn't have to be here.
What time?
When is the December board meeting?
It's the week before. The
It's
8th.
8th.
Keep creeping back.
So let me get this straight. So come 8, the board,
No.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
No.
administrators don't have to be
No.
here.
We're
No.
changing our mind.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You want them here?
Yeah, for a reason.
Sorry, I tried.
How about we do it on the 12th, you can do
Oh,
virtual.
Time out.
You can do it from home.
What if the January meeting, they'll have to come?
No, we'll come. Sorry.
Well, the January end.
So you're, did somebody suggest we could do the 12th, they could do virtually?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we do it on the
It's still
12th, and you
virtual.
guys do it virtually from home.
I know.
Do the workshop
I'm
first.
aware.
Yeah.
I
Do the
know.
virtual,
Yeah.
do the workshop virtual.
Let's go.
Okay.
Is that,
We're all, and we're
is
all
that better?
virtual.
Yeah.
We're all
I think
virtual.
it's easier for all.
Everybody can do
Not
virtual?
us here and then.
Yeah,
Can we do a virtual meeting?
we do a
Because it's
virtual.
a
This is a
workshop.
It's a workshop.
So I think we can. I just
Okay.
needed to state it.
All right, so December
Myself.
12th,
Virtual.
5, now Travis, we can do it later, so you can get home from work.
Can we do 5:30?
That's what I got, 5:30.
5:30, for how long?
5:30 to 7.
Okay. And it'll be virtual.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill will send the link, or Chris will send, somebody on their team will send us a calendar invite with a link.
Yeah,
Good
so
catch.
same as always, I'll put it on the district calendar that we all share, the one where all the other board meetings already are. And it'll put a link in that meeting.
And then can somebody email it to us, because.
Can somebody put it on a meeting?
Need a special invitation.
Because I don't actually know how to get to the calendar you're referencing, so.
Definitely, I will.
Now, just one quick, so this is a board workshop.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Please provide materials ahead.
I forget how it works. Is the public, what is the public's right in open meeting law for a board workshop?
To view but not participate.
So are we live streaming this? We're gonna have to.
We will.
The link will be
It's
out.
even-
The link will be out there.
It's even easier now because now Google Meet just added a feature you can built-in stream right to
Oh, good.
YouTube. They didn't have it the whole pandemic.
They had to build it. They needed
No
feedback.
third-party
So,
software. needed.
but here's my question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They
We
will
don't
be
have to
watch.
provide, but we don't have to provide a space for anybody to watch it. We're entrusting them. Do we know how that works with open meeting law?
What do you?
I don't see it happening, but,
No,
say,
because we're
Oh,
not
to
in
come
one
in to watch
space.
it. you mean. Yeah, that's what you're
because the
So now-
meeting's not in one place.
Right.
But what I guess the question I'm asking is, say there was an elderly gentleman that doesn't have a computer, that wants to attend the meeting. Because we're trying to be equitable for all people, does the district have to provide a place that they're able to watch the meeting? To conform to open meeting law, that's my question.
think so, but I'll verify with.
If you can verify that we're cool and kosher with that, that's great. I just want to make sure that we're dotting our i's and crossing.
You can send them to me, you can hang out and help us.
And then the other question might be when you're checking into that bill is like, is a recording suffice? Are they required to be able to watch it live?
I think it has to
Because
be
we
live.
record everything.
It would have to be live.
And I'm willing to come here. We need to have somebody.
99.9% I'm gonna be here.
I don't mind being here.
Yeah. Yeah, we just have to conform to.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Right. All right, so we're gonna do that.
Nice.
Next
Well played.
topic.
Next topic is, I would like to ask you to consider extending the scheduling presentation deadline from December to January.
That was one of my questions.
Our facilitator has had some health issues this month and couldn't meet. And so I'm asking that we push it a month
And it will
to
not,
give the committee time to.
it will not change the process if there were recommendations to.
It's gonna put our counselors under the gun a little bit, but still.
As long as they're aware that, because they're part of the process.
Yes, they are.
So as long as they're aware, I'm fine with
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's
Agree with that?
understandable.
So we'll have a presentation in January. We did, yes. I would like to give an update on the SRO contract. So I've been in weekly communication with the county on where the contract is. It's still being reviewed by the district attorney's office from the county. Once approved there, it has to go to the Justice Department, their committee for review. And based on the number of changes that we made, it's taking them longer than they typically turn around a contract. So hopefully we'll have something soon. Also, I had a conversation with a representative from the county. They have screened 4 potential candidates and did not move forward with any of those candidates because they didn't think it was a good fit, which.
Was that screened specifically for us?
Specifically for us.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which
So that's great.
they're doing their
'cause
due
this-
diligence and they.
And this isn't holding up
Yeah.
that process, so
No,
they're already.
they're still looking and
great.
screening and they understand our fit and they listen to us through this process and they're trying to find the right person for us. So that's a good thing.
Are there any expected revisions on their end?
I would expect revisions on there to come back to us.
And
So we're
understand-
basically in negotiations at this stage.
We are. I understand you've been counseled not to provide the contract to the public before we vote on it.
Mm-hmm.
But we do just make sure that when we do vote on it, you're prepared to at least outline the
Yeah.
parameters of like what's covered in the contract.
I did follow up with legal and I think we should make it public with the understanding that we're done with public comment. They can view it, but the public comment period is closed. We will internally make revisions. They can see the revisions we made because we basically rewrote the contract based on feedback, based on other contracts that we saw. So the public can see it. When we put it on the board agenda, they'll be able to read it. But there's no more public comment to that contract.
That's what we've been advised to do? To make that public?
We can make it public.
Because my concern is that I understand the desire to make this public, but we're setting a precedent that gets us into some uncharted territories. And we just have to be mindful of that. You know, we have heard the public's concerns about what they're after. Bill, you and your team are quite clear on what the concerns are.
Mm-hmm.
My view is that the public is entrusted, each and every one of us, the 5 of us, to delve in those areas and make the decisions. We've heard their voice. We had a hearing. We had multiple meetings. And I just want to make sure that we're keeping ourselves in a path that we're not setting a precedent. For example, we went through the county for a social worker. Did we post the contract with the social worker online? Did we nitpick the contract for the social worker? So I want to be careful when it comes time when we actually get a contract, which I don't think is going to be anytime soon. That's just what my gut is telling me. Because if they come back with revisions, say we go over it, and we say, okay, we'll do this, but we want to make this one change. It's got to go back through that whole process, which we still don't have a contract, and we're what, 2 months into them having this? So, you know, I'm being optimistic. I want this so bad, but we've played our hands. We have to just play this out. And I'm thankful for these concerns that have been shared that we're after, because they're worth the time. But I worry that I don't want this to take any longer than it has to. So when we get a contract back with revisions, I want us to try to reflect, and this is just my opinion, but know our roles as a board member and know what we have found out is being asked by the public, which the things that we may have concerns with. And I respectfully don't think that this should be shared with the public. I know legally, maybe we can. I think it sets a precedent that this is common practice. And I think, you know, this has already become a hot topic thing. I'm all for open, you know, government access, but I think we just, when the time comes for that, I just want us to make sure that we are knowing our role. Now, I understand that what that means to you may be different than me, but I'm just going to leave it at that. I think you know where I'm going here, but I just want us to be mindful of that.
Well, my question would be, the contract is foilable. Anyway, at what point does it become foilable? If somebody wanted to look for what we submitted to the district, to the sheriff's office right now, could they foil that document?
I'm not sure.
And if we had a document that was presented to the board on the agenda to approve, could they foil that before the board meeting?
I will ask legal those questions.
Because to me, at that point, the precedent we're just setting is, in a time where people are interested in these things, and the community has some vested interest in that specific document, the precedent would just be, we're going to err on the side of transparency, right? It's a legally document, you have a right to access it anyway, so instead of making you go through the FOIL process, we'll provide that as a, you know, a preemptive thing. And I think that the way Bill said it, it's a document that's available for people to see, not necessarily for, I mean, people can comment, but not that that's going to be part of the consideration for when the board votes. To me, that seems like a reasonable thing. Not that we're putting out every revision that happens and every back and forth, but the finalized document does get made public to the public, so they can see it before we vote. They have access to that, and then they know what we're voting on and why we're voting the way we are. So I think that's also some accountability for us, right? That here's what we voted on, you know what we're voting on, and you know where we're standing on this when we vote.
In the end, I'll revert to Bill and Michelle, but I just want you to know, and I'll support that, but I'm not comfortable with that being the case. I don't think that is right.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, and I think your point about the contract with the social worker versus this is a great one to really stop and think about. I think the difference for me is we were told by our legal counsel that this one was supposed to be public. And so I guess if you're talking to the lawyers anyway, like, I guess what I would want clarity on is did I misunderstand that? Like, my understanding is that this one is different. So it's not setting a precedent, it's that this one is different. And so I guess what would help me is understanding if I misunderstood that. That this one is different, as opposed to all of these other contracts that happen that we never approve. We didn't have to approve that contract, right? Like, we didn't have to approve the social workers contract.
It was part of the,
Well, I guess we approved that it was gonna happen, but we didn't approve the contract.
It's been practice not to publicize
Right.
any of our contracts with.
Right. Although they are all foilable.
They're all foilable.
Right. But
this one was clear from legal that you had to have a public.
Yeah. That this was to be public. And so to me, in terms of setting precedent, to me, in terms of when are we in the weeds, right? Like, I think that's been one of your concerns, or at least that's what I've heard is one of your concerns.
In general,
Is that this one was different. We were advised that this one was different. And so that's you know, where I come at that from.
And as far as I'm concerned, whatever you and the legal team come up with is the best strategy, that's what we'll accept. If we can't post it, I just think that at that meeting where we vote on it, there should be some sort of parameters that the public can know about.
Summary.
So they know, again, like
Where we land.
I think that what we vote on and our votes on that should be clear to the public what we're voting on and why we're voting on it, that way we vote.
could that be in the form of,
What it's in the form, for me, whatever Bill and his team think is the most appropriate form.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Wait.
happy with.
I got you.
And go from there.
Okay.
Bill, and what he finds out.
Yeah.
I'll get some clarification from legal and then advise you.
what's next?
Next. Capital project. I know there's been some questions about what's next, where we are, where we're going. So I wanted to talk and have a conversation about that. So our building condition survey, which is being conducted by our architects during the process of that, that's due in March. That will then set the stage for our future planning of projects. That building condition survey will identify priorities based on infrastructure, structural needs, health and safety, compliance with ADA. They'll identify clearly areas of the campus, the building, that are a priority for future projects. So that will help with our planning. There's a question raised about a facilities team. I think based on that building condition survey, the next step would be to put together a facilities planning team to talk about, does this make sense? Where do we want to go based on the building condition survey? So that building condition survey will drive everything moving forward as far as future projects.
Can I ask a really goofy question?
Sure you can.
After all these years, and all the times this building condition survey is done,
Yeah.
how is it not just a complete and total conflict of interest that our architect does the building condition survey? What is the check on that?
The check on that is through state ed.
Okay.
So there's a very clear guidance and regulations that have to be adhered to.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Um,
I'm just like,
Yep.
So,
in this moment.
my question, we've talked about this, but, so you kind of touched on the first part, which is what's next.
Yep.
That's, you just explained that. And yes, the facilities, what I was gonna say was, you know, Matt's not here, but he's touched on it briefly before, but I think that we as a board should really consider a facilities committee. Most schools that have it, it's not a team, it's a committee. It would be just like our policy committee, our audit committee if we chose one. So I think that would be worth having a discussion on, if that's something we'd like to do, which it sounds like would be good. And secondly, with a future project, nothing against our current architect, but what might the process for putting out RFPs for architects for any future construction projects look like? Just out of curiosity, because I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. So the district has the right to put out an RFP at any time for any service. So we would, the drive of the facilities committee would help identify specific areas that we want the RFP to address. And then you put a very specific RFP that identifies areas that we want information on, or proposal
Yep.
submitted, and then you submit it to any architectural firm that you identify. It can just go out. And then it's their job to come back with a proposal to meet those needs. And then as a board, we would decide who we want to.
How do the laws determine what the district or board's choice would be, like lowest bid? Would we have to take the lowest bid, or is that not applicable in that situation?
I don't believe it's applicable in an RFP. For capital project work, it has to go to the lowest bid, right? Once you-
Right, which I understand.
But from the RFP, I believe we have that discretion to choose whatever
Because
architectural
we
firm.
identify who is best.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, timeline, do we have any idea when, I know there's kind of like a flow with the budget of the House. Do we have an idea about what timeline as far as board action or like a referendum to the voters we're talking about?
That would all come after March, after the building
After
condition
the-
survey comes to us, then we would identify needs and then timelines, and then state ed has their financial piece that they have to do, determine how much money you're eligible to receive in aid for the project.
Now, if you, your team, the board were to decide that a facilities committee would be beneficial, when would you like for that to start being thought about?
I think after we get the building condition survey. I think everything is going to be contingent on that BCS.
Do you have a good feeling for how other districts use their facilities committees?
I do, yeah. I think it's a good thing. I think we should have one.
I feel like we have committees for committees, but this would be a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, you've answered all my questions, thank you.
You all?
Anything else?
Anything else? Hope to have the Superintendent Student Advisory Council up and running soon.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I met with the two student council representatives. We determined that it's going to just be high school students for this. We thought that was appropriate. And they had a meeting today. The advisor's going to come back to me with representation, and then we're going to have our first meeting.
Get some of your excitement for it?
Yeah. Excitement from the advisor. Hopefully today there's excitement from the kids. I think there will be.
Who's the advisor?
Michael Jones.
Oh.
Steering committee updates, anything that needs to be?
Yeah, I'll be quick. We are looking at what the charge of our committee is. We're supposed to look at the shared decision-making plan. That's something we're supposed to review annually. So we're looking at that, and that appears to not be something in board policy. It simply is a district document, so we're kind of looking at that and what we want to change there. But if there's any input from people who have experience with that document, I think you could give it to us as we start thinking about.
Is that the one we see every like 2 years and have to vote on?
I don't know.
Elementary reviewed it, elementary steering committee reviewed it last year, and we did try to look at it from the sense of, we tried to look at it with a diversity lens, and we did do some pronoun work, and some of that. There wasn't anything else that I found, but again, I always worry that I'm missing, obviously, you're blind to your
Now
blind
remind
spots,
me, is it the same plan, or is the high school and elementary?
Same.
It's the same. Yeah.
One thing we're hoping, I think, is to kind of define more of our purpose or niche within the community, within the school.
The steering committee.
Yeah.
So that's what we.
So elementary, I was a little bit late, but just, okay, I was a lot late, but I will just, say again, it happened in the SEL room. It just, the vibe there is amazing. And again, there's all sorts of activities planned. Heather's already presented most of them, so I don't want to belabor all of that. There are student-driven things going on about a comfy cafeteria. You know, I went shopping for cafeteria furniture while we were, I didn't really go shopping for cafeteria furniture. I got lots of books with lots of pictures for cafeteria furniture while we were at the NISBA conference. The thing that I think stood out to me the most was the comment that you made today about the changes in recess. There's zones that create more structure, there's a PE teacher out, there's indoor options for elementary recess, and the behavioral referrals have dropped dramatically. Lots of discussion about ways for community involvement and lots of ideas. And a discussion that I do think may come back to this level is, do any of our policies need to start addressing smartwatches even at the elementary level? We've got a cell phone policy and that sort of stuff, but I don't think it includes smartwatches. And the elementary teachers are seeing kids with smartwatches. And so the question is, should we be, it's not a problem at this point, but should we be being proactive in terms of thinking about how we think about that? So, the discussion that came out of the elementary steering committee in terms of that was really looking at it as an opportunity to teach responsible use of technology, and not just saying take them off, put them away, that sort of stuff, but really sort of structure. It's okay to use them during these times and in these spaces, but otherwise no, and that sort of stuff. So
You're not seeing a problem yet, though.
No, I'm just noticing that there's a lot of
more and
more and more students, and also like, there's a lot of information out there. New York Times has an article. It's becoming, other districts are talking a little bit about it. So yeah.
So I don't want to undercut anything. The amount of work going on in terms of student engagement, new activity, is just absolutely incredible. Family engagement, trying to reach out to families, all of the different activities being planned. I don't want to undersell that by the same token. It's getting late, and I want to make sure we're moving forward.
Emerald Foundation, they're looking for people to fill out their applications for grant funding requests, and they are taking over the all-class reunion from Art Zimmer. Art Zimmer has been in charge of it for years. He's done a wonderful job. Very grateful to you, Art, if you are watching. But he has turned over the keys to the Emerald Foundation for that project. So the Emerald Foundation is to figure out what to do with that now and kind of move from there. They're working on that currently.
Matt Haynes is going to come and address the faculty at our joint faculty meeting on the 17th.
Great.
He's the president.
So that's that. They have a meeting next week. No, they have a meeting next week, I think. It'll pop up on my calendar. That's what it'll be. Knowledge sharing, I think it's just safe to say that we went to NISPA.
That's good.
Right? I don't think that we need to spend the time to date, at least, to go through each and every piece of it. Ellen did create a folder. She did save the PowerPoints in there. And Bill, feel free to share that with your team so that if they want to look through things, they can.
Sure. It's able to download off of the app all of the PowerPoints and then just upload them into a Google Drive. So they're all there. All of them. And then I did do a little summary page of my notes that's in the same folder. So
I didn't have enough notes. So anyways.
Yeah, I had a better experience than you did. I would still say it wasn't as good as Rochester, but I definitely had a better experience than you did in terms of
other knowledge sharing.
So I don't have anything in particular, but I just wanted to bring note that NISPA did send an email to all of us. It was later this afternoon, but they are offering some online classes now for education. There's a couple of them on DEI. One of them is DEI in education, the board's role, which I thought would be really good. And then just like effective school meetings, managing conflicts, and things like that. So there's 4 courses right now. It says they each should take 1 to 2 hours to complete, and they can be done in segments. So I thought that was, I just wanted to bring that up. I thought that was a good opportunity.
It's actually piloted. Look at that.
Speaking of NISBA,
I haven't looked at it yet.
Do they have a reasoning for why they send emails at like 1 in the morning?
Not for us.
Sleep.
Yeah.
NISBA never sleeps. Didn't you know that?
That's the saying, right? NISBA never
Advocacy update?
So I have a couple of things. The first thing, and thank you, Michelle, for sharing it, because she beat me to it. They take action to support universal school meals. So hopefully everyone, if you so wish, have filled that out and completed it. I got my nice generic email from the governor's office, which is great. But they are also doing a lobby day just for that topic. So it's going to be January 10th at the Capitol in Albany. Advocates will represent education, health, and nutrition sectors. So there is a place to register for that. Weather dependent, I'm thinking I may want to attend that. So if anyone would like to join me, we can road trip together for the day. And then I gotta find all my dates here. The Capitol Conference, that's a virtual conference that'll be held on February 10th. And then the statewide in-person lobby day, again, at the State Capitol Building, will be held February 15th this year. So I will be doing the Capitol Conference, and I'll give a recap on that. And we probably should start showing face more at some of these lobbying events. So again, haven't looked that far ahead, but love to attend if the weather's not really bad, because I drive in the sun. So, yes. So if anyone's interested in those, let me know. And that's it.
All of our community left us. So I don't think anybody wants to speak.
Even online, they bailed out?
No, there's still 4 people watching, so thank you to you dedicated 4 people, because you've been on the entire 2 hours.
One of them is you.
One of them's me. Oh, one left. Bye! Bye! So, thank you, but there's no comments. And I was hoping during that little entertainment there somebody would write something, but they didn't. So, seeing no community participation, I need a motion to... I need a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. Enjoy your long weekend, and please